Welcome. In today's podcast, the politics teacher and his students are going to discuss one of the momentous political weeks I think I've ever seen or heard. It's a tale of corruption, it's a tale of lies, deceit, and the gross abuse of women. And at the centre of it, we have Jeffrey Epstein and Peter Mandelson. I wonder, to begin with, how do you see it? Do you actually think it is what some people are saying, the greatest political scandal of modern times? And do you also feel that the judgment that Sir Keir Starmer has made makes his position untenable now?
Well, I feel like as the public, the biggest thing we can take from this scandal is that it shows that with a certain amount of power, you can do whatever you want and not face legal consequence for it. I mean, you look at formerly Prince Andrew, and then you now look at Mandelson. It's kind of it's blew the lid off. We've seen that. Can we trust our politicians? Can we trust the elites when they were all involved in this huge, massive scandal that was absolutely disgusting for so long? And so far, we've seen what people lose titles, people being sacked from their jobs. We're not seeing people being criminally convicted. We're seeing people that drive in bus lanes facing a harsher punishment than Peter Mandelson himself. I think Starmer is right to sack him because, I mean, obviously he couldn't still be the ambassador to the US. Um, I don't think it necessarily means that he should resign. I, you know, there's no evidence, I suppose, to prove that Starmer knew Mandelson and Epstein's links. You'd think and you'd hope that Mandelson would have, kept that very secret. He could have been boasting about it, far as we know, all of them could be in on it. It's exposed how interlinked the elites of the world are, and there's just you're seeing things come out about it everywhere. Like my feed last week has just been accusation and implication and bits of evidence, and I've just seen so many different ways that Epstein is linked into politics around the world, but also UK politics in itself. um I think it's blown everyone's minds, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I just, it's jaw-dropping, isn't it? Sometimes we are guilty of hyperbole, but the scale of what's been going on, I think people are just beginning to come to terms with. And yes, quite astounding, really, politically.
At the center of this, Ian, of course, is this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, who is described often as a New York financier. I think he had one job in finance, but clearly he had recourse to cash, a lot of it. And if you look through, I've only looked at a few of those emails that have been released by the US Department of Justice, but you see the number of international figures that he has contacts with, not just those that we see him photographed alongside, but people, sheikhs and leaders of kind of small nations and people in significant commercial positions who are emailing him with little updates or little questions. I saw a leader from the Gulf who just emailed him to ask him where the best place to play golf was. I mean, why would you do that? Why Jeffrey Epstein? He's not a professional golfer or someone who has a deep knowledge of it. People were trying to keep on side with him, trying to curry favor. He also offered bits of money, relatively small bits of money, but I think the story I saw was that he'd sent Mandelson's husband $70,000, I think, for either for an operation or some sort of
It
need.
was to do a medical course, wasn't it?
Right.
That,
And so
that
he
he never actually went through with it, but he still got the money.
so there's that. There's this guy who manages to be at the center of everything and is the fixer, connecting people, having dinner parties that involve scientists and political people and moneyed people, and he connects them. That was his particular skill, apparently. But he's a paedophile. He's an abuser of women. He trafficked in women. He was in street terms a pimp and abused those women to the max, including, as we've seen, with I don't know what his name is, Andrew Mountbatten, the former prince. So his friends are often emailing him saying, basically, he's like a drug dealer, wasn't he? It's like people emailing him saying, "Have you got anything for me?" It's like it's gobsmacking, really, his behaviour and then the connections. And I'm not surprised that A, he did prison time, but B, he decided to end it all because the depth of this guy's depravity was incredible.
Well, I mean, he was convicted originally just. I don't mean just that they were insignificant. They were terrible offences in terms of the use of the girl's concern. But there were two offences, and he didn't serve long, did he? In prison from 2008. It was what was it, about 15 months or something,
Yeah,
I
it could have
believe.
been hard, I'm not sure.
And but of course, the problem being that that was known, and of course, Mandelson kept his relationship up afterwards. And of course, that was what the Prime Minister was challenged on by Kemi Badenoch this week and others. You know, you knew that he was continuing to have this connection, staying at his property. Why on earth did you appoint him? And of course, much later on, 2019, the full scale of it comes out, and it ends up with him taking his own life.
But to
But
get the timing of this right and put an explanation in, Mandelson emerges somehow as a favourite to be the UK ambassador to the UK, to the US, right? Incredibly important job, incredibly important because of the dangers and the erratic nature of Trump and the need to build that relationship. So somehow he emerges. He's not involved in the Foreign Office in other ways. And then the due diligence that they have to do, the way in which they have to look into his background, does throw up this danger of him having been linked to Epstein. And Starmer says that he was asked about it repeatedly, and he denied that he was friends with him, denied that there was any further involvement, denied that there was anything that would stop him from taking that job. And then suddenly there was a leak. I think it was to Bloomberg last year. Starmer decided too much. He's lied to us and sacked him. And now the issue is that this big dump of millions of emails has shown how close, in fact, Mandelson was to Epstein, how he was getting money, he was being gifted things, and critically, that when Mandelson was in government, he was a big power broker in New Labour. At one point, he was deputy prime minister. He was heavily involved in the Labour government during the economic crisis in the sort of 2008, 2010 period, that he'd been emailing sensitive information to Epstein. Just apropos of nothing. Just he's his mate and he's sharing a bit of gossip with him about the action that the UK was going to take to try to protect itself from the financial crisis, which then, which is sensitive because, and Epstein clearly leaked it to his friends because there are examples of that and the impact that it had in terms of phone calls to the Chancellor at the time and others. Now that, for many of us, is a crime, isn't it? You're involved in an organisation. You are the deputy head of that organisation. You're deputy prime minister, and yet you're sharing information willy-nilly, which can be dangerous if used in the wrong way to the country. You're just sharing it with your mates, who then is in a position to share it with his mates, who are influential in the financial sector, which is the very sector that's got you into this deep, deep mire.
and also sharing information about the failure of Brown to put together a coalition to stay in power, which of course was politically highly significant, but also would have a huge impact on the financial markets. So the knowledge of that is highly confidential, or should be highly confidential. But that information was being divulged as well. So
All of it could have
it is
really
quite
impacted.
incredible, really.
All of it could have impacted really heavily. You're in the middle of a crisis, and you're telling your mate what action the government's going to take, and he's then divulging it to American bankers, one of whom calls the Chancellor and mildly threatens him because that is what Mandelson had suggested to Epstein that the banker does. I mean, this is
Yeah,
incredible.
there'd been this kind of concern, hadn't there, about um, the behaviour of the banks and bankers' bonuses and the need to tighten up. And I think that there was the suggestion that there needed to be some pressure exerted
I think it
to,
was more than that. There was more than that. Don't forget, it was the fall of the big American banks, Lehman Brothers, that
yeah,
precipitated the crisis
sure,
because they'd lent heavily to people who couldn't afford to repay back, and then the whole system collapsed. So
yeah,
it was an American crisis that impacted the rest of the Western world
sure.
and the global economy.
And of course, remember, he'd had to resign twice before over, scandals, um, cash, payments, and helping with a passport for an Indian that were seeking, to reside in the UK. So he's been at the centre of previous scandals. So this comes back to the judgment of Starmer. I wonder whether, Carter, you're sitting there very quietly, what your thoughts are of what's been going on and the way in which it's been handled, and from your perspective, what you feel about it.
I was really hoping you'd just forget I was here if I stayed quiet.
No, no, how can we forget that you're here, Carter? That would be an
Oh,
impossibility.
what do I think about big old Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, and there is my thing is I don't quite know what to fully believe right now because I'm not sifting through all those files myself. I have better things to do. And most of the information I've gotten is off Instagram on posts, I'll admit. I might not be
But
as
why
prepared as I
don't you
should have
believe
been.
the people that are telling you what the emails were saying?
Well, PR, I believe that, but if I believe everything I see on Instagram, I also have to believe that Jeffrey Epstein has a playthrough of Minecraft uploaded on a YouTube channel that he made.
Why don't you try reading a newspaper?
Don't be absurd.
Okay.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think one of the
yeah, let's
issues
get back
is
on topic.
One of the
So,
issues is that whilst they've released 3 million emails, there's another 3 million emails that haven't been released, and
it's a lot more than 3
some are
million.
saying that some of the material on there is being questioned, and but nevertheless there is, I think, a weight of documentary evidence that is very powerful against not just Mandelson, but really figures across the globe.
Take
Yeah,
it
it
from us,
seems like
Carter.
most. You're gone.
Let's take it from us that Epstein was a very bad man. There are real live victims who are testifying, and we believe those victims. End of story. Mandelson,
Yeah.
Mandelson and Starmer. I know you'll have something to say about that.
Well, I'm like, I detest Keir Starmer with every fiber of my being. Any reason he should resign is a good one, for me at least. But I mean, I don't know. Judging him on like, I no, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for once in my life. I don't think he was fully aware that Mendelssohn and Epstein were in cahoots as much as they were. And they might as well be best mates from the emails, but. I like to think Mendelssohn was better at hiding it.
Yeah,
So I don't
absolutely.
think we can I don't think we can knock Starmer that much for that in particular.
Yeah, and to go off of what you were saying earlier, Carter, about, having all your information pushed to you through Instagram Reels, I will say I do sort of like I agree that you really can't believe everything you've seen because I mean, obviously it's the internet, but also a lot of misinformation and agendas has been pushed through by the Epstein scandal. You've seen a spike in anti-Semitism. You can see factions of people saying, "Oh well, obviously it's the Jews that are doing all of this and they control everything," and then that has spiked. There has been a spike of anti-Semitism after it. There has been people saying that Jeffrey Epstein invented transgenderism, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it goes back centuries with many different cultures.
That's
Huh?
some complete nonsense.
Oh, it is nonsense. Absolutely, I know it's nonsense. I'm aware it's. I'm saying
That's
that
something
it's
I would come up with at 2 a.m.
nonsense.
Mm.
Yeah, it is bizarre. It's ridiculous, but it is also harming people, and that's the thing. It's people are using this as a bad because I mean, let's be honest, the bubble has burst. The elites, they've been exposed for the people that they are, and unfortunately, the conspiracy theorists were right on a lot of things.
I'm gonna start
However,
believing a lot of conspiracies after this.
no, because that's the point, though, Carter.
No, but the Instagram reel said there's an ice wall in Antarctica with like a glorious society on the other side. Sorry, carry
But
on.
that is my main point there, Carter. Because the conspiracy theorists were right on certain aspects of this, I worry that people are going to believe what they say blindly now. I mean, you do see people that genuinely do believe that transgenderism was made by Epstein and his pals to control people. You do see people genuinely believing now that it was Jewish people that have done everything somehow. I mean, I'm assuming you've seen people saying now that the Titanic was staged to kill all the non-Jew bankers.
I
It's
haven't actually
insane.
seen that one.
Oh, well, it's been things I've seen. It's been things I've discussed with my peers as well. I mean, like it is scary, and there's so much being peddled through this Epstein scandal.
Sure. But I mean, there are some things coming back to what is incontrovertible evidence of
Oh yeah,
corruption and the abuse of power, and how this network that Epstein had nurtured across the globe were involved directly, and some indirectly, but nevertheless part of this network. There's no question about that, is
oh
there?
yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Like everything that Epstein has done and his associates have done, I'm very well aware that it did actually happen.
Sure.
My only issue I take with it is that the people are now jumping on the bandwagon and throwing in their own beliefs, and it's being mixed in together with the actual facts.
Yeah. I mean, what's your thoughts on it, Piara, in terms of this international um, network of elites who are abusing their powers and drawn into this Epstein kind of web almost of abuse and of corruption. I mean, is this something that is peculiar because of Epstein, or is it actually more symptomatic of actually this is the kind of thing that's going on in the world, and only because of what happened to Epstein and the death of Epstein have we actually got a window into it and seen it? But it's real, and it's not just Epstein. It is on a global scale, huge levels of corruption of power.
I don't believe in conspiracy theories, and I don't believe in hidden networks. I think they're or a global hidden network. We should kill that straight away. There is not a global interconnected network of elites. There just isn't. Look
Right,
at the people who are not mentioned in the Epstein files, right? Barack Obama didn't email Jeffrey Epstein. Arsene Wenger didn't email Jeffrey Epstein. There's millions of people who didn't get involved who would be seen as the elite in terms of leaders, in terms
right,
of money people. There weren't many people from Africa or India, actually, one or two people who were emailing Jeffrey Epstein looking for favors and looking to be part of his circle. So let's be very clear on that. There is no international network. But what's happened is that Epstein was a very good operator, clearly was able to be at the center of power relations in the sense that he created relationships. He introduced people. I know people who do that. I have friends who might introduce me to another friend from a different area, and we start to talk to each other and say, "Hey, do you want to go for a coffee? Should we do some work together?" That is not new. That's human nature. I think what it does do is show us how some of the people that then get caught up in that, the former Prince Andrew and Peter Mandelson and Ghislaine Maxwell, strangely, are three very consequential people, are British. So somehow our people got dragged into it and are suffering consequences that we would not have imagined that long ago, right? So how Peter Mandelson, who knew that Peter Mandelson was so close to him? And there's no suggestion that he was involved in the trafficking of young women, because that's the thing that Epstein was doing most. He was like a sex broker. But he has had photographs of himself taken in his underwear with a woman in the room. I mean, he's a gay guy, a gay man, and yet that sort of stuff, he's allowing that sort of stuff to happen, right? But the real issue here, I think, is firstly how we allow someone like Mandelson, who's connected to Epstein. It could be connected to some other elite individual or some other circle of people. It could be connected to, I don't know, the former Shah of Iran, for all I know. But he's then used that and given information that he shouldn't have given as the deputy prime minister. I personally think and hope that they find a criminal offence for that, because he has jeopardised all of our futures. That action is the sort of thing that could lead to putting your pension into jeopardy, Ian, directly, because that's how financial markets work, isn't it?
Yeah.
We invest
Yeah.
in them. Our pensions invest in them. Our mortgage people invest in them. So that has created a lot of jeopardy for a lot of people in this country that you don't expect from somebody who's at the top of government. And then the Dark Knight, as he was known as, has come back for the third or fourth time in his political career after having been previously sacked and been given a job by Keir Starmer. And that's the current crisis that this government faces. You described it as a remarkable week in politics like you've never seen before. People are describing it as the scandal of the century, worse than anything else we've seen. The scandal is, how was he appointed as the UK ambassador to the US? What happened there? Why were our procedural appointments and processes not strong enough to weed him out and understand what a danger he was as an individual, as a personality even, and somebody who could end up doing us harm because of his previous record and his predilection um, to sucking up to people of that kind. That's the real issue now. So, and Starmer's in the firing line, because you have to say, why was his judgment so compromised? Why didn't it set alarm bells ringing in his mind? Starmer, when he came into office, he was talking about how this would be a new style of government. It's going to be a clean government. It was going to be transparent. And he also expressed an interest in defending the rights of women and girls. And yet here he is appointing someone who's clearly connected to a paedophile and a sex trafficker. And you thought it was okay. You believed him when he said, "Sorry, Gov, wasn't me. I wasn't as close to him as you think I am." That's the failure of judgment that Starmer is now facing and is putting his job in jeopardy. And I think that's quite correct. It's Labour MPs that are raising this concern. This isn't being driven by the Tories or anybody else. It's his own party who say this is one of a long series of misjudgments, whether it's him personally failing to understand and deliver on his values, or whether it's advisors and Morgan McSweeney's name comes up. However it's come about, somebody has to pay a price politically. That's the issue, and that's the question I think that we're facing right now. It's a crisis at the top of government, and it will have some kind of impact in the coming days. There's no question about it. You can't just ignore it now and sweep it under the carpet.
No. I mean, there's no suggestion, is there, that it is the case that Starmer said when he got into power he would take the issue of the safety of women as a priority for his government. There's no suggestion that that's not the case. The problem is that he's made a serious error of judgment in this appointment. Some are saying it's tied up with the election of Trump, and that somehow having a maverick like Mandelson there would would help. I don't know quite why they would think that, but
I mean, I'd appoint Carter if you're looking for a maverick and someone who can pull things out of the rabbit hat. Is that the right term? The hat, the rabbit out of the hat. But
yeah,
no, it's a lot of talent in this country. It didn't need to be Mandelson.
no,
Mandelson edged his way in because he had a relationship, friendship with Morgan McSweeney. They share politics. And Mandelson has championed McSweeney, and McSweeney apparently persuaded Starmer. But in the end, who's the prime minister? Who has the
sure.
final call here? And
I
who
mean, they're
should
not.
he then be going around literally mowing down his advisors? Did you tell me to appoint Mandelson? Okay, you're gone. Did you tell me that's what he should be doing right now to show actually that it has an impact? No point just apologizing in a speech and sounding a bit jittery and shaky. Show us what you're going to do about it. This
Yeah,
is very
Yeah,
serious.
absolutely. And it's like I will say, as a woman, it really does bring into question how much the government actually does care about the safety of women and children. Because I don't feel like I'm vouched for by my government. I feel like we're seeing once again a government disregarding women and disregarding how the powerful treat said women. I mean, I genuinely don't trust Starmer necessarily anymore. I don't think he actually cares. I think he just thought, oh, well, McSweeney said to do it, so I'll do it. I don't, I might have heard a few things down the grapevine, but is it is it a big deal? It's just, I know every woman I've spoken to about it has been just as angry as I am. And I just, in all honesty, I think if it was a standalone incident, I don't think Sam necessarily should have resigned over it because there is an argument that he didn't know to an extent. I don't think he's rectifying it in the way he should. And I do think, for the sake of the Labour Party, he probably should look at resigning. I don't see a world where Labour are winning the next election when he's just been taking blow after blow and he's been making mistake after mistake, and so is his cabinet. I don't see a way that the British public will have faith in him anymore. If he can't even choose an ambassador to the US that hasn't associated himself with a sex offender, then how can he govern the country?
Nice guy, isn't he? But just doesn't have the political nous, and it keeps failing him. Keeps getting him into trouble. Time to go, I think. And honestly, it's a bit like the US and Donald Trump. There is no Democrat who emerges as a leader, but it doesn't matter. Anyone will do right now because this guy is causing damage, I think.
I don't agree. I respect your views. I do believe that he is genuine about his desire to improve um, the way that women are seen and treated, and that goes back to his days in as DPP, and but he has clearly made an error of judgment. He has apologised for that. He now has to show that he is doing all that he can to rectify it, and we'll see where that takes him.
Well, what he's waiting for now, Ian, is to be forced right to the brink before he takes any action. Because if he's not going to resign, what action is he taking? He's relying on the fact that Mandelson lied to him. That seems his only line. What about the complicity of people in your office in 10 Downing Street? What about taking responsibility for that? Mandelson will have to answer for his lies, but what about the people that were advising you? Or was it you? Was it your misjudgment? There has to be some sort of answer, not just an apology and an explanation that he was lied to.
This is certainly going to run and run, isn't it? And who knows where it will end up. It's been an amazing week and a really interesting discussion. Thank you, everyone. We just have time for a little bit of a light-hearted moment in this very turbulent week. Do we have a Fredo moment of the week, anyone?
Fredo moment is that we're shortchanging the listeners on the Fredo moment. They came expecting a Fredo and they get nothing.
Oh dear.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've done nothing but read the Epstein files and be constantly pushed a million different things about it. So my life has revolved around the last week, as
Yeah.
I'm sure is the case for everyone else.
I heard Epstein's the reason why video games have microtransactions now.
That is true. He was very big on that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, screw you, Jeffrey Epstein. You're the reason I have to pay for skins in Fortnite. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we've got there, haven't we? Thank you ever so much. Enjoyed it. We've been the politics teacher and his students discussing Epstein and Mandelson and the wider implications of that scandal. Thank you, everyone. Look forward to the next podcast.
I'm off to buy some Freddo, so somebody's got something to say about them.